this year, this place is nearly impossible to hit home runs. Would you have bet it would have been you to be the one to hit the home run here when it's so hard and there are teammates of yours that have hit more and weren't able to?
I mean, I would always bet on myself, but no, probably not, to be honest. But I got a pitch to hit, and I hit it hard, and yeah, it happened.
Phil, you were jumping on pitches early today. Were you trying to be more aggressive?
It's about the same approach I always have. Just kind of look for a pitch, early on that I can do damage with, and just so happened to be the first pitch of the first 3 at bats.
For you've struggled a bit lately, and today you really set the table. I think it was 3 hits. Are you feeling? Does that give you confidence going into next week, knowing that you had your best offensive day in a few games?
Yeah, I think you just always have confidence in yourself as a good hitter. Obviously, you're gonna go through ups and downs throughout the season, and it's how you manage those, and just staying steady and continue to work with the coaches and everything, and being within yourself, leads to success in the long term.
As some of the more veteran, older players on the team, what can you do over the next week to kind of refocus the group, refocus the younger teams after a couple of arguably more disappointing weeks leading into the tourney?
Bobby, why don't you take that first?
Yeah, I mean, we got a younger team, as you said, and I would just say just keeping them focused on the task at hand. Everyone's goal is to come to Omaha for the College World Series, and that goal is still very much in front of us. And just getting everyone's body healthy, and yeah, I would just say just refocusing on the goal that everyone has preseason, and that goal's still intact. So yeah, just keeping the focus, the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, losing, it's obviously been disappointing the last 2 weeks, having a chance to win a championship and just falling short. But, going out and playing those environments and, losing, but you have to learn from, the failures. And, we got to go back to Bloomington, regroup, understand how we could have won some games and, kind of what we didn't do so well and, make those adjustments in the next week.
Whether you won or lost today, subconsciously, does it change the way you approached it, knowing that you're going to be playing next week again?
I mean, the human element of it is there is a calmness that you can coach with. Like you don't have to you don't have to put guys at risk. You don't have to overextend guys on the mound, especially. That's always the big thing. Losing Ryan this past week, we very easily could have. If you don't keep a calm mind, you can overextend guys, and you have to be okay with doing the best that you can. I'm trying to win a championship, obviously, because the boys deserve that. But you also can't put your players in a precarious position. You can't risk injury for those guys. They have long careers ahead of them, and obviously they need to be ready to go for next week. As far as how you talk to the guys and how you hold them to a high standard, no, there's not a difference, because they expect to win. They want to win. I don't know that I've ever seen a team that hates losing as much as this team hates losing, which is a great thing. As a coach, you want to be proud to go and compete with the boys that you work with every day and the coach that you work with. And I could not be more proud to wear Indiana across my chest with these guys. I mean, they're awesome. And they've given everything they've got. They've absolutely poured it out. And so this weekend, you have to respect how hard they've worked and how hot they've had to run to achieve these things. And so you have to, I gave it to them pretty decent this morning. I busted guys' chops a little bit this morning and probably ruffled a few feathers along the way, just to make sure that, we were in the mindset that we needed to be in, and it was good. We had, good energy, and they were ready to go, and they were competitive. And sometimes you get baseballed and it doesn't go your way, but I think from a management standpoint, you have to be careful, with especially your pitching, not to overextend guys. But from a motivation standpoint, from an expectation standpoint, from the standard you set within the program, no, you can't do anything differently than you typically would. And they would be thoroughly disappointed and shocked if I did anything differently than I always do, or the coaches did anything differently than they always do, because that's what they've come to expect of us, and that's what they come to expect of themselves.
And Coach, going off of that a little bit, you talk a lot about playing your best baseball at the end of the season being the priority.
Yeah.
After Michigan State and then the Tourney, what, if anything, has you kind of concerned the most going into NCAAs?
Be on the road for 12 or 13 days, and when you go to Michigan State, that's just such a different environment than we play in typically, right? It's a huge field. It's a slow track. They're a good team. They can play, and you lose two games by 3 runs. Kraft goes down in the middle of it, and so now everything else is kind of pushed forward. So, we had some things. Let's be honest. We've had some things break our way earlier in the year, and in life, and baseball is part of life. It balances out, right? There's an ebb and a flow to things, and so it doesn't necessarily concern me going into the postseason. I think right now we need a break. We need a break. You look at how hot we've had to run for the last 6 weeks, and there for a period of time there was potential of a host conversation, and so now every single day becomes a playoff game. We've played playoff baseball for 6 weeks. Tuesdays, midweeks, we moved to midweek on the road to strengthen everything. Every single weekend you're competing for a championship, and so with these guys, we've been in this arena, and I know like we didn't win today, but we've been doing this for 6 weeks, and we just need to go back and sleep in our own beds and practice and do all the things that we typically do, and then get ready to go for next week. So I don't know that I'm necessarily concerned outside of we lost some close games, and obviously we kind of ran out of pitching here, and had some things go against us a little bit, but they'll be ready to go for next week. We have to live and learn. Their pitcher did a good job, exposed us at the top of the strike zone through a low slot ride guy, and then the lefty, the dinner kid, came in, did the exact same thing. And so things like that, it's you would like to see us be able to adjust better than that. But in totality, I couldn't be more proud of what they've done, and they should be very proud of themselves too. And in the last 2 weeks, maybe didn't go our way the way we wanted to, but to put yourself in that position is a terrific accomplishment. And then now we just have to live and learn and get better and get ready to go for next week. But it's a great question.
And then heading into that, how much do you owe, obviously in the other dugout with Tracy Smith, his program probably wouldn't be where it is today without what he did.
Sure.
So how was that playing against him? And with that, when you go somewhere next week, some projections have you going close. There's obviously close regional. Some have you going far. This is your first tournament appearance in 4 years, so it's going to be good to be back. Will you be upset if they send you far, if there's close possibilities? Because there's like one projection at Oregon State to Kentucky, and you guys going all the way to North Carolina. Would that make you mad, or are you happy going anywhere in the last 4 years? And then again, how much do you credit Tracy Smith for this program being in the position it is?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to give Tracy Smith all the credit in the world for what he did at Indiana. And we don't have the facility we have. We don't have the success. You don't have the lineage and the history and all those things. And I've always been, very forthcoming with that. What he did at Indiana was incredible and deserves all of that credit and accomplishment and well wishes. I wish him well, and I'm very thankful. It's well noted, but I'm an Indiana kid, and so I grew up watching those teams. I grew up cheering for those teams. I grew up wanting those teams to succeed and wanting to go play baseball at Indiana. I wasn't good enough to, but I wanted to. And so, I'm very thankful and appreciative to be able to be the head coach at Indiana with the platform that I get to stand on that he built underneath. And so I'm very thankful for that. As far as where you go, you can't control it. And so you just go and you play well. And, if my family gets to go, that'd be great. But if not, I'll probably sleep better not having, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old in the room if the tournaments would go down the road somewhere. So if we go further away, I'll probably be more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But if we go close, I'll get to see my kids. So it'll be great either way, and we'll play great teams wherever you're at. And so you're gonna face good arms. You're gonna face great lineups. You're gonna be in big crowds and big environments, and whatever it is, that's the main focus. And it's an honor and a privilege to get to go do those things. And I'm proud of the boys to put ourselves in that position.
Coach, today you went back to both Reisdorf and Seiler before touching Cassady, West, Gabe, Vega, some of the other guys. What was the thought process behind that?
Well, you're just kind of playing the hot hand a little bit, and as you kind of get into tournament baseball, you're a little bit more reliant on guys that you've seen do it. And if we had gotten through today, then those guys were up, and it was going to be their time to go. But Ben goes two scoreless on Tuesday, And so you trust that guy to get in there and throw strikes and be competitive, and he about had it. You have 2 outs and nobody on. You don't ever really imagine 3 runs being scored at that point. And then Reisdorf, he threw 2 outs on Tuesday, but was back up and rested again. And we wanted to throw him today, even if we had won. We wanted to throw him today to make sure that he had, a full week before next week. And so if you save him and then you get through today and now he's on short rest again next week. And so, with Reisdorf, he's been a guy for us. He's been a closer, he's been a starter, he's been one of the main components for us, and we wanted him to have a full run next week before the tournament started. And then Ben gave us a really quality outing on Tuesday. I wanted to get Hellman in there. Gabe Levy did a really nice job in that first inning. And then that's always kind of the fear is with the cutter was how quickly do they kind of adjust and figure it out. And we're about out of it. And it's funny. It's not funny. It stinks. But I just said to Zach, as like he's either going to flare one to left or he's going to hammer one to right. So make sure you have Devin deep. And he did. He just hit it off the wall. So, but yeah, we wanted to get Hellman in there because someone's been really good in some of those settings. And so we got him in there for an out, and he did a fine job. So yeah. If we had gotten through today, tomorrow would have been those guys' day, but just kind of trying to stay with the hot hand. And then you don't want to have a quick hook. If you put a guy in there and you say, I trust you to go in the game, and then you have a quick hook and, leadoff guy gets on, all of a sudden it's one guy and out. It's like, do you really trust me? And now you're going to the postseason without trust. And so, it stinks, but it's part of life. And those guys will have to be ready to go with our scrimmages next week and be ready to go for next weekend if their number's called.
And then this is the last one for me, but
yeah.
Heading into next weekend, your defense has been a little bit, the last 2 weeks hasn't been quite as good. Do you have any plans to try to clean that up heading into regionals, just after what happened in the tournament in Michigan State where you've made some costly errors?
Yeah, we'll do the same thing that we always do. When it's always hard. College baseball is hard when you play 80% of your games on turf and then you go to a natural surface, and that's always a hard thing. We played good defense. We played good defense at Michigan State besides the Friday game where it rained all day, and then you go play no infield, and again, nothing you can do about it. It's part of baseball, but you're playing on a wet field at 10 o'clock at night, and it's just hard. You make some errors, and we made some. The one that the bunt, they put down a great bunt, and we should have just put it in our pocket. But Josh is trying to make a play. He wants to win, and he's trying to make a play. We probably just should have put it in our pocket. Well, kudos to them for making a great bunt. We have the Burden kid who had an awesome day today. He's a great player. Swinging bunt and kind of like the gyro ball and tough play. And Josh just barely pulls Tibby off the bag. Well, Tibby probably should have come off the bag to make sure he catches it. But he's trying to make a play. So you guys are trying to make plays in kind of unique plays or circumstances. We're not missing routine ground balls. We're not missing routine pop flies. Sometimes you just have a weird bounce and a great bunt, and then you throw the ball away, and you just have to know when to put it in your pocket. And so I guess to your question, the answer would be is we just have to go back over game notes and say, okay, sometimes you just got to know when to cut bait and not make that throw, and just say, okay, we're going to have to find a way to get out of a bases loaded jam, but that's better than the alternative, which is a 2-base error. But besides that, we made the routine plays. And hopefully we don't get a bunch of weird ones in the regional, and we can keep making routine plays. But no, you're right. You're right. At the end of the day, it says error on the board, and those things are costly. And so we just have to find a way to mitigate those things. But circumstances dictate a lot of that as well, right? Field, the field where you're going to natural surface, choppy, rain, all those kind of things. They so it's like as a coach, if you come down, as the heavy and you come down as a hammer. I played baseball. I was out there. I know what it was like. And I think sometimes you can overcorrect, and you just got to know when to tip your cap and move on. And sometimes you got to know the difference in making a change or not. I don't think there's many changes needed. Just make maybe some better decisions. But you make a mistake trying to make a good play.
I want to take you back 10 years. You obviously managed here when Indiana was in the College World Series, and they are what they are today because of you. And they're going to go to another tournament they've done consistently, and it's all thanks to you. So is it weird being on the other side of that, knowing you're trying to catch what their program's become? And you started it all.
2 things. 1, I love your hat. The other thing, you're as good as the player. We sit around and joke around about that. You say it was we built, I think, a good foundation. I give a lot of credit to even administration at the time, because when we took the job in Indiana, there were 50 people in the stands, and we were playing in the old Simbauer, those that know.
Yep.
It wasn't even a glorified high school field. So a lot of things went into that. We talked about building a championship culture. That's not just coaches. That's not just players. That's administration. It's the fan base. It's the community, all of those things. So I would like to correct you on that and say that we all did. Yes, I got to drive the car or the bus, I guess you would say. But there was a lot of people that went into that. But yeah, it was interesting today, you know. I've got a lot of affection for Bloomington and Indiana University because there's a lot of great memories. I raised my kids in that town. But, you know, when it was games, you know, I've been gone long enough, and, you know, too, I was on the elevator with the people at the hotel, IU fans. They had no idea who I was. So it was interesting for me a little bit personally, but once the game started, it was like, we want to kick their tail, you know, so, but I appreciate your question.
And Skip, as a follow-up, in your first season back in the Big Ten, what, if anything, has changed since 2014?
Well, I think kind of following a little bit, I mean, with, you know, Michigan, I think, you know, was a little ahead of the curve. And, you know, even if I'm being truthful, you know, even Ohio State and the investments that schools were making in their programs, those were probably the two. As you start seeing more investments being made, I think it's only elevated the conference in general. I mean, it's well respected because when I went out to the Pac, there was a time in the Big Ten, even when we were there, we're getting more teams in at large than we were in the Pac. And my comment out there was, it's because good coaches, good players, the model's right, and people are making investments. So I love that baseball has become important to the conference at large. And I think that's good not only for our conference, but it's good for college baseball in general.
Going back to the College World Series, do you have any bad flashback with that Mississippi? If the last game you lost Mississippi State, it looked like Schwarber hit the home run, fly out, and Travis had the double off the wall. Would have been out of any other park. That started for you in the second inning today, where you had the long fly out and a double off the wall, and you didn't score.
Like emotional high right now.
So are you? No, this is going to be the good part of the question. So I was going to say, did you have flashbacks, and then were you proud of your team for once you know you had that bad flashback moment of 10 years ago where the park holds in home runs like it does to everybody, you were able to recover from that?
But I think in general, college baseball, because if you recall, that was the year it was the dead baseball, you know, and they had switched over. There was a lot of concern. So I give a lot of credit to the NCAA in getting it right. But yes, I have a lot of flashbacks that I'm sick that we didn't throw the breaking ball. I can't remember the hitter's name, but the big hit they got in the eighth. And then I've become over the years really close with Pat Casey. And of course, we lost that 1-0 game to them, a really well pitched and played game. So yeah, I mean, it was fun to get here. Disappointed that, you know, we didn't win it, but our goal is to get back. And again, one of the reasons for me in coming back to the Big Ten was, I was out for years. You know, there's only a handful of places that can literally sit around and talk about have a legitimate shot at getting back. Michigan in 2019 was one game away from winning the national title. So that's the one box that I personally want to check, and we're going to do everything we can as a program to get back there and get on.
That will do it for this media edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. The Hoosiers will learn their NCAA tournament seeding and regional assignment on Monday at 12 noon, and then we'll be back in action on Friday, June 2nd. IUBase.com will provide updates on the selection and preview regionals in the coming week. See you at the BART.